Okay, so this is the first 9 questions of the geometry review. So I'm going to go through these with their solutions. Feel free to fast forward if there's something else you need. So this one says a model is made of a car. The car is 9 feet long and the model is 6 inches long. What is the ratio of the length of the car to the length of the model? So that tells you the order and that we're writing a ratio. So we know that ratios are going to be a fraction, and it's the actual car to the model. So if I look, this was my car of 9 feet, and my model was 6 inches. Now, if we look at our answer choices, we can see that none of these have any units on them, which means I need to get these two values to have the same unit or label on them. I always recommend you go smaller, so I'm going to turn those feet into inches. I know that 12 inches is the same as 1 foot, so I'm going to multiply this one by 12 inches to get it simplified, and then I get that to 108 inches to 6 inches. Now that the units are the same, I actually cancel them off and I just think about simplifying 108 and 6. A 6 goes actually into both 108 and 6. It goes into 108 18 times and to 6 once. So this right here is the ratio I'm looking for. Now the ratios here are given in colon format, so I want to find one that's in that exact order of 18 to 1, and I found that right here. All right, now let's look at question 2 together. So question 2, it says red and gray bricks were used to build a decorative wall. The ratio of the number of red bricks to the number of gray bricks is 5 to 2. There were 175 blocks used in all. How many red bricks were used? Okay, so right now this is what I call a part-to-part ratio of 5 to 2. It's 5 red for every 2 gray. But they're talking about the total number of bricks. So I need to convert this ratio so I can set up an equation. Now I know that the two parts, or the parts of something all add up to the total. But if I go 5 plus 2, that doesn't equal 75. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a factor back in. And because I can cancel factors out, I can also put them back in. So I'm going to put in a variable x and change this to 5x and 2x. Now I can say that these two parts, 5x plus 2x, are going to add up to the total of 175. And from here I just solve, combine my like terms, divide, and I should get x equal to 25. Now you might notice 25 is a solution. That's not what we're looking for because the question is how many red bricks were used. So you need to remember to take that 25 and go plug it back in. Well, if you're wondering which one to plug it back into, the order originally was red to gray. So that means red is what we want to plug it into, the top. So I plug it in there, I go 5 times 25, and I get 125 red bricks. My first option A. All right, so now if I'm looking at question 3, on question 3 it says the ratio of length to width in a rectangle is 3 to 1. The perimeter of the rectangle is 120 feet. What is the length of the rectangle? This one's a little bit trickier. So I once again want to take this ratio of 3 to 1. If I think about the parts, they're not going to add, 3 plus 1 isn't going to add up to 128, the total. So I'm going to add a factor back in of x. So now it becomes 3x and 1x. Now this is the ratio of length to width. And if you remember perimeter, it's all the sides added up together. But for a rectangle, there's more than just one length and one width. There's 2 of each. So if I'm going to set up my equation to find this value, I'm going to have to make sure to include 2 lengths, so 2 3x's, and 2 widths, so 2 1x's. And all of that should equal my grand total of 120 feet for my perimeter. And now I just start to solve. I combine all my like terms. I get 8x equals 128. Divide both sides by 8, and I get x equal to 16. Now that I've got my x, I need to go plug it back in. It says, what is the length of the rectangle? If we look, length was the first one, that 3x. So I'm going to plug 16 into there. I go 16 times 3, and I get 48 feet, which I found as B. All right, now we're going to go look at question number 4. So question number 4 says, a salsa recipe uses green pepper, onion, and tomato in the extended ratio of 1 to 3 to 9. How many cups of onion are needed to make 117 cups of salsa? This is just like the last two. We're going to take this ratio of 1 to 3 to 9, and we're going to add a factor back in, and now it becomes x, 3x, and 9x. Now, when I combine all three of these terms, I'm going to get my grand total of my salsa, so I'm going to combine them with addition. I go x plus 3x plus 9x equals 117. And now once again I'm going to solve. So I combine my like terms, I get 13x equals 117. I divide both sides by 13, and I get x equal to 9. Once again though, 9 is an option, not our answer, because they want how many cups of onion. So here's where the order is important. They give you the order of the ratio right here. It goes green pepper to onion to tomato. So that means that onion is the middle number of our ratio. That's our 3, or our 3x. So that's where I'm going to plug my 9 in. I go 3 times 9, and I get 27 cups of tomatoes, and here that is. All right, let's look at number 5. Number 5 is another question where they're talking about parts and wholes. So it says the measures of the angles of a triangle are in the extended ratio 3 to 5 to 7. What is the measure of the smallest angle? So I'm going to look for the smallest angle. And I know that these are all measures of angles in a triangle. Now that's actually really important here because we know things about all the angles in a triangle. We know that they all add up to 180. So I'm going to write down 180 right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these three things, I'm going to take that proportion, I'm going to add back in a factor, and it becomes 3x, 5x, and 7x. Now these are the three angle measures. We know that all the angles add up to 180, so I go 3x plus 5x plus 7x equals 180, and we start to solve. So I get 15x equals 180, divide both sides by 15, and x equals 12. Notice once again 12 is an answer, not the solution though, because they want to know what is the measure of the smallest angle. Now you could take 12 and plug it into all three of these pieces of your ratio here. Plug it into all three of these. However, if you think through this critically, you can actually figure out which one of these is the smallest angle. We're going to multiply by 3, by 5, and by 7. Multiplying by 3 is less than multiplying by the other two. That's where I'm going to plug my 12 in. I go 3 times 12. That's 36 degrees for my smallest angle measure. All right, let's look at question number 6 now. So here's where the questions kind of start to change and take a different slant to them. So it says, what is the solution of each proportion? Basically, this is your basic solution. We're just going to multiply our cross products. So what we currently have is 6 over A equals 18 over 27. So now we're just going to multiply diagonally. I've got 6 times 27 equals A times 18. I know that 6 times 27 is 162. I plug that in. This becomes 18A. Divide both sides by that 18, and A is just 9. Nothing more tricky than that. My answer is just 9. All right, we're going to move on to question number 7 now. Question number 7 is once again another pretty simple proportion. So it says 7 over 9 equals m over 27. Once again, we multiply our cross products. 7 times 27 equals 9 times m. 7 times 27 is 189. That equals 9m. I divide both sides by 9, and I get m equal to 21. Okay, so here's where the proportions start to get a little trickier on these next two, numbers 8 and 9. Number 8's got a lot going on. Every single part has an n in it. Don't be afraid of that though. I'll actually tell you that something interesting happens and makes your life a lot easier on this one. So I'm going to need lots of space on this. 9 minus 6 divided by 3n, or sorry, n minus 6 equals n minus 5 over 3n plus 1. We're going to take this and we're going to multiply our cross products. It's n minus 6 times 3n plus 1 equals 3n times n minus 5. On the left side here, I've got two binomials, which means I'm going to FOIL. So I'm going to multiply the first, n times 3n, that makes 3n squared. And then the outsides, n times 1, which is just n. Then the insides, negative 6 times 3n, that's negative 18n. And then the last terms, negative 6 times 1, which is a negative 6. And that's going to equal, now on the other side, I don't have to FOIL because I only have a monomial. I just have to distribute it through to both terms. So I get 3n squared minus 15n. Now, we do have n squareds in there, but if you notice, there's an n squared on both sides. So what's really going to happen is they're going to cancel each other off, and I don't have to worry about them. Now I need to combine my like terms. So here I've got these two like terms, n and negative 18n. That's going to become a negative 17n minus 6 equals negative 15n. Now we're ready to do some rearranging. I'm going to get my n's together. I'm actually going to move the 17 because when I do that, it turns positive and I get a positive 2n there on the right. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and n is equal to negative 3, which is a perfectly acceptable answer in a proportion because there's no context here. It doesn't matter if we get negative numbers. All right, one question left in this video. This one is a little bit easier than the last one in that it kind of has some cleaner numbers for number 9. So we've got 3y minus 8 over 12 equals y divided by 5. We're going to once again multiply our cross products for our proportion. I go 5 times 3y minus 8 equals 12y. Just like the right hand of the last problem, I have to distribute my 5 through with both my terms. I get 15y minus 40 equals 12y. This time I'm going to move my 15y to the other side. That just makes things a little cleaner. I'm dealing with some negatives now, but that's still okay. And then I get a negative 3y over here. Divide both sides by negative 3. And I get y equals 40 over 3. I would probably prefer that you leave your answer as a fraction. If you write it as a decimal, that's the same as 13 and 1/3, or if you write it as a mixed number, or if you write it as a decimal, it's 13.3. Repeating, I will say the best possible way to write your answer is this 40 over 3. All right, that was the first 9 questions.